It's working. I'm just going to grab
Go right ahead.
some cards. Good.
You want some help with something?
Nah, we're going for it now.
Yeah, we should find
So the demo guy's working yet?
No, we'll hand wave them. No, it's one of those things, right? Of course, this is one of the busy. We just kicked off a new project on GCP, and it's been head down, just trying to get as much done as we can. And like, this was working, and then great.
Then you upgrade something and nothing works. I was doing a thing with trying to deploy Cloud Foundry on their Bosch product 2 weeks ago and just do it locally. Found out it was having an incompatibility problem with the new virtual PC.
Wow.
Virtual PC 5.2 is not completely backward compatible with 5.1.
Oh wow.
It's like,
That's to be safe. Just in case
there's the old, I always do the safety thing of taking a picture of it.
That's it. I mean, I figured there's no reason anymore. You know, a couple weeks ago I was up at Google, we were playing with a Jamboard, and it's nice and all, but by the time you got everything done and saved and sent to everyone, like click done, you know.
There we go. The other thing is a parabolic mic, and you can listen to the concerts while watching them.
I don't know if they've even had any yet. I haven't seen any over there, have you? There's that's our new amphitheater now. We've been kicked out over there, I guess.
No.
That's called 5 Points Amphitheater.
the 5 point. Yeah, that,
I'm going to, what was it? Not Dirty Heads. Slightly Stupid and Stick Figure in June there.
oh, it's already opened up now.
Yeah, sorry. Last summer they opened it.
Well, I knew there was talks.
See those like black stadiums?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the kind of a temporary removable stadium to replace that until supposedly they were talking about one of the valleys up in there, building it up in one of the little valleys, a permanent one.
I think that'd be good. But it's like it's not going to replace what we have. I just love that place.
That's so many concerts there.
Yeah. Kids when they were
and I got 2 fights at 2 different concerts, and both of them were Jimmy Buffett concerts. I've been to Slayer concerts, I've been to Megadeth concerts, but when I get in a fight in is...
How do you get into a fight with Jimmy Buffett? I'm not disputing it, I'm just like, that's impressive.
Overly drunk people. And literally with one of our friends, she's pregnant, sitting down, and this guy sits on top of her.
Oh, man.
And we go, get up, and he took a swing at me, so he went flying. Yeah, just need to go to the concert. People get a little too drunk at.
Oh,
All right.
Oh, there's beer? I already ate, but I didn't
There
drink
might be one out there, yeah.
it.
hello.
Whoa,
Not wonderful.
that's awesome.
Let's assume that's working. All right.
His pager duty goes after. Yeah. I've had that happen multiple times with me. So actually last year at Scale it happened. I had to like run out the door. Wonderful.
All right. So let's get this thing kicked off. Thanks for coming tonight. My name's Matthew. I run the Google practice here at New Desert, and happy to see so many new faces. That's always good. We like to see new people coming along and getting their ideas about how this should go. We're very much, took me by surprise, very much a community. We're looking for people who want to learn something about Google Cloud. If you want to present on something, fantastic. We'll get you a slot if you've been doing something cool at work, or if something just catches your interest, let me know. Even if there isn't anything you want to present on right now, but you just have an inkling to know more about data flow. Right, my friend here is
Yes.
next month is going to be presenting on data flow because
That's good.
an interest in learning about
Yeah.
right. So yeah, just we're always available online. Just hit us up, let us know what kind of things are of interest to you, and we'll try and set something up in the coming months to go over it. All right. So having said that, today's topic was continuous deployment of microservices on GKE. Bit of a mouthful. The reason why I thought about doing this is that there's a lot of conversation around the CICD space right now, and there's tons of solutions at the CI part of it. But when it comes to deployment, there's not so many, right? They're definitely out there. It's definitely coming along, but most people probably are still doing Jenkins pipelines with kube control in there. Works great. No need to change, but there are better options out there. Once you get to the point where you need to expand beyond that. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that today. Most of it was meant to be a demo. There are some problems there, so we'll have plenty of time for Q&A today. Let's look at it that way. Maybe you can eat and get out early. So, yeah, that's me. You'll know me now. All right. So, missing some slides. So what? I think we need to. Sorry, I must have deleted something. So when it comes to CI/CD pipelines, obviously there's two parts to it. We've got CI. I'm just reproducing what was on the slide that I lost somewhere along the way. Are you guys doing CI/CD on Google or another provider right now? Yeah?
Yeah, we're doing
Google, great. What do you use for CI?
GitLab.
GitLab.
Yeah.
I guess you two are the same, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, we work together.
We
So
use Bitbucket pipelines.
Bitbucket pipelines. Using anything right now?
We're not using Google yet, but just Jenkins.
Jenkins pipelines?
Yeah, Jenkins pipelines, with Blue Ocean and into Docker Swarm.
Okay. Cool. So these are all, well-established CI tools. How many of you are actually using them to deploy as well? Yeah. How's the deployment working out for the GitLab part of it?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
built in and good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Can't
Nice
really,
one.
Can't really complain actually. They did a pretty good job on it.
yeah. Does it handle doing updates, rollbacks, things like that, or is it just
We haven't gotten
Push
to
it
that
out.
point.
Yeah, right
Okay.
now we're just doing like just sending different images.
Doing the deployment.
Some on Helm from our other teammate.
And you're deploying to GKE.
Yes.
okay?
And Tectonic as well.
And you're-
Okay,
And Tectonic. We have an in-house Tectonic installed, so.
nice. Okay. And for pipelines, Bitbucket pipelines, does that do?
We deploy to GKE too, but it's mostly kube control scripts.
Is that automated, or is it still you guys going in and doing it?
It's automated, but so it's like kube control commands. Like I have a bash script that runs it and
Right. Okay.
rolls out updates basically.
This is working well. This is shell scripting. And back to Jenkins, probably the
Full CD all the way through staging, full rollback, with
Nice.
the exception of schema changes.
So databases are still the
Still,
classic issue. Yeah.
when you do the rollback, there's usually, if there is a schema change, there's usually some manual rollback script that you'll have to run first to delete the tables and any inserted data. But it does, you'll deploy basically one isolated version that rolls the LBs, isolates it, pushes each step out one at a time. Manually click the button to accept each one.
Right.
No automated testing yet to validate them yet. That's kind of the next step.
Okay. Where do you do your integration testing? I mean, unit testing, I'm presuming, always on the CI side things, but integration testing, where's that happening right now?
We're doing it in the CI.
You're doing it.
So
So this is doing.
So we deployed to a Docker Swarm first, and we'll run. We have 35 microservices.
Okay. That's someone right there. And in the Bitbucket, doing.
We have unit tests in our CI, but not integration. It's like mostly manual.
Okay. Let's not do it there. And what about in the GitLab? Is that-
Similar.
Yeah, I think that's really tough. So the ones that aren't fully integrated, I mean, are there gates in there where you can stop deployment and all?
Yes, yeah, so GitLab does it, all, like it does it, integration testing, we just haven't implemented it yet.
Got it, okay. All right.
Yeah, they have like review apps and things like that that can automate stuff, yeah.
Oh, cool, okay. So, yeah, it's probably there as well.
There's some food outside.
You're welcome. We're just talking about CI/CD pipelines. Are you or your company using one right now?
No, I'm not using
Not using anything?
it. No, just want to know more.
Okay. Cool. So we can see we've got all these options out there. Some are very bad, have more integrations than others. Some are using Helm, some are just using, I'm guessing, deployments or manifests, things like that. But all of them probably integrate a little bit more and do some cool things with it. Today I was going to demonstrate Spinnaker, which is firmly in this side of the realm. It can do a little bit of CI, but it's not really optimized for that. It's optimized for doing continuous deployment. So I was going to demonstrate a CI pipeline where we have Container Builder. I don't know if you've used that on GKE yet. Okay. So Container Builder is Google's process that can hook into repositories like Git and automatically trigger a Docker build, let's say. So, since my slide's missing, I'm going to talk about using Google source repositories and Google Container. Let's go builder. And I'll send out notes at the end of how I did all this stuff, since I seem to have obliterated them partly. And why do you use Spinnaker? So one of the interesting things I've been working on projects recently with Google as well, as part of their professional services, and we go out and we see a lot of places which are not doing the CD side of things. They've got the CI down, they're building containers, but they're not doing anything beyond that. They're still deploying manually. So within that group, we've standardized on Spinnaker, just because it's a fairly mature product that offers a lot of things out of the bag. And it's for want of a better product that doesn't seem to exist yet that anyone can use, right? I mean, GitLab, are you still using the free version of that, or are you?
No, we went enterprise.
You went enterprise, right? And the pipelines, I'm guessing the same, right? Exactly. So when you first go into the cloud, you're looking to use something that is either cheap, free, whatever. All of these things can be done for free, but at the added cost that it's a lot more work to set up, and sometimes things go wrong, as we'll see shortly. So let me bring up a project just so I can look at some of these things. Let's start at the source repositories. So I've got these 3 repositories, and this example, it's just one of the Docker samples. So, I'll put links to the real source there at some point. But it's a 3-piece application. There's a Node.js piece, a C# piece, and another Node.js, on a Go piece, sorry. These applications. And what I've done is set up triggers in container registry, such that whenever I push to any of those repos with a tagged version, I'll show it right here, it's going to go ahead and build the Docker file. Right, it's all pretty standard stuff. We've got some builds here. I might as well kick one off right now. Let me see, am I in result? Let's do this one. I'll just trigger a build because it'll. Yes, this is Emacs. I am that old.
So how is the Google CI better than the Atlassian suite with Bamboo and?
I wouldn't say it was. Google is not in the business of giving you a CICD tool. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is that there isn't anything that is fully integrated end to end. So if you go into Google, you're either using one of these third-party tools like Atlassian, Bitbucket, Pipelines, everything like that, or you're rolling your own.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show a little bit about how you can do that without investing too much. Now, if you're already an enterprise customer, you want to look at their integrations with Google, right? And that'll be a better option for you. And if anyone would like to present on how they do things, I would love to see it, because we're always looking for new tools and new ways of doing this. So let's set that. So I just made my source change. This is all standard stuff that people do. It's already picked up on that, and it's starting to do that build.
So you check in your Docker file to.
That was just a JS file, but yeah, anything within the repo.
And then runs a Docker build.
It'll run a Docker
Does
build.
a Docker push to.
Yeah. So in this particular one, these builds, they're going to push to Google's repository,
Oh, sorry.
but it could be Docker.
Yeah,
It can certainly be Docker
right.
Hub or anything else, Key, anything else you might want to use. I'm just using Google because it's all nicely integrated.
This is their builder's free, right? And then they just charge you for the storage.
It's free for the first, I think, 120 minutes of builds,
Okay.
something like that,
Every month or just period?
every day.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're building a typical Docker image, that's not going to be something you're going to hit typically. So it's really nice for those people who don't yet have a enterprise solution that's end to end.
Nice.
Yeah, I really like this, and I can't wait till they come up with something to replace Spinnaker. That's really the part that's missing. So let's see. It's probably should be in history. It's probably already done. Yeah, that doesn't take very long at all. So that takes care of the CI part of things. In Google, like I said, we don't have anything that automatically deploy it. Now you could.
You can log on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want to.
On the column there.
Oh yeah, I have a slide up at the beginning that says details.
Yeah.
So in the absence of writing your own cloud functions or something like that to do triggering deployments, which is always an option, I prefer to use something that's already built. And what I'm demoing here, believe it or not, is actually Spinnaker. So this takes a few minutes to run.
Matthews, the trigger is that you're whatever you check into the source repository, you have Docker commands to build in that full container, and then you put all of that into the trigger.
Yeah, so we'll go into what that is. So I'll show you a configuration
Just to
of a trigger. So, again, anyone who's got some of these more advanced pipelines, this isn't going to be anything unusual or out of the extraordinary. But it is a pipeline in that I can configure it to be triggered on an event. So right now, you can see I've got a trigger here. Hopefully that's better. That whenever a change happens to this particular Docker registry, this particular repo that I'm looking at with a tag that matches, and I want to avoid latest alpha, things like that. I just want numbered builds. It's going to trigger this pipeline and execute it from left to right. Yeah, sure. So let's go back just to the pipeline, see where it is. Okay. It's still running. So like much of the other tools, there are built-in options to do deployments, testing, canary deployments, gates, things like that. So this is a pretty innocuous one. I mean, this application doesn't warrant this level of integration, but I'm using it as a demonstration purposes.
I was gonna ask, so this is Spinnaker, right?
Yeah.
How do you configure this first to watch because it watches your GCR repo, right?
Yeah.
And how does it so it watches, I assume, tags, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, does it give you a tool to import your GKE cluster and then do different kind of releases, blue, green, canary, or
It does. It's a bit of a beast to set up. So that in and of itself we could spend hours around it. It does always take me. I've done this countless times, and I don't know how many hours it still takes me every single time to get it set up.
So it has a built-in feature for importing Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah, what you need to do is within the Google realm, you set it up so that it's using a service account that's able to access the APIs for the Kubernetes cluster. One of the things I didn't talk about is that this is actually should show how this is actually set up. It's not strictly necessary, but it's how I like to do things, and since you asked about it, draw it up while it's building. So using GKE right now, GCP right now, right? How many projects do you use on an application? You just put everything in one project, or do you use multi-projects?
Well, I work at Rackspace, so
Uh-huh.
we build customer workloads on GCP, so
Right.
we have hundreds of projects.
But for a particular customer, a particular service that a customer needs to put out there, do you do one
What
project
we
per
do,
environment?
usually do one network project,
Uh-huh.
which shares all the networking objects with other ones, so we can control access.
The shared
So
And
you're
then-
doing shared VPC.
Shared
We
VPC
do
project.
shared VPC. And then we do usually one project per environment, like dev, test, prod,
Got it.
and we put GKE in a different project as well, because GKE can't be inside the shared
Shared VPN.
as
that's
of now. So we have to do some kind of a
Right. Okay. So
VPN magic in there.
yeah. Okay. So this will look somewhat familiar for you. With you, except no shared VPC here.
Yeah,
Right.
it can be shared.
I've got an admin project. And this has the container builder. So let's start at the top. It has the source repositories. It has the container builder. It has the container registry. And it has its own little Spinnaker cluster. So that is actually GKE. And whenever I check into the code, it's going in here, it's going to build, it puts the output into the registry file, and then this is looking at that, looking for triggers there by using a service account. Okay. Well, I then have, I've just done 2 environments. I've got a stage, it's a separate project, and for want of a better term, just say a prod. These are running their own GKE clusters. And what happens is I've got another service account that's able to go into those 2 right there. So all the action actually happens in one project. It just pushes the changes out. And as soon as XPNs are enabled for GKE, yeah, you put it all inside a big old network one. But yeah, we're not doing it.
We can't.
Not today.
Yeah, no.
I know they keep promising that, but for now, no can do.
So this Spinnaker, is it like a managed product? It's like a service based?
It's a service you have to actually install yourself.
Oh,
So it's like, it would be like putting in Chaos Monkey or Jenkins, right? I mean, there you go, that's a classic example. Like all of this could be replaced with Jenkins and GitHub and everything else, right? So let me see how my build's actually doing. Okay. Right. So in this pipeline, there's multiple stages. It deploys the stage, which is this environment. It runs a test on the container. Is it working? It's just been true right now. So nothing fancy there. Then it deploys one instance out to here as a canary, make sure it's working. And then it reaches the point where it's asking me if we're good to go to production. And that's where this guy is, right? Obviously, we can integrate this with Slack. You can do other things as well. You don't need to come into the tool to do it, but for purposes of this demo, I'm not going to go that far. So as soon as I say good to go, it'll now roll it out to the rest of the environment. And if we go into the production project, we should start to see that happening in Kubernetes. There you go. Are you doing it yet? It's in the process of doing it. So these ones are now going to start to, pump over and turn into a different version of the pod, actually. So, there you go. This one's in the process of being changed.
Is your canary in the same cluster, or is it a different cluster?
For this demo, it's in the same cluster, yeah.
Are you separating by pods or just different?
Pardon?
Are you separating it by just like one pod being deployed to first?
For this demo, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We can do a lot more, but since my end-to-end demo broke, I have to stop, unfortunately. Yeah, it's still deploying away right here. But that's essentially what it's doing. Yeah, so yeah. Hey, Sean.
Hey.
Hey, good. You grab some food or take a few minutes?
Later.
All right. All right. Since that's not very interesting, I'll go back to the admin project. And see that Spinnaker itself versions everything. Every time they change the Spinnaker, always a whole new replica set of everything that's part of it. Everything's versioned, just not into Git, which is one of the actually bad parts of it. One of the negatives, I would say, for the Spinnaker. So this time I wish I'd put more money on my credits. So I got a better cluster, but it'll get there eventually. So that's a very high level overview of what Spinnaker can do. It's probably, you know, if you're already using these tools, it's not something you're going to switch to, but it's just food for thought for those who haven't gone down the path just yet. So, you know, reasons why you might want to choose Spinnaker. Again, I'm sorry, when I uploaded it, I guess it lost some pieces. But why you might want to use Spinnaker over anything else? One, it's free, so it's low cost if you're starting up. If you're not at the point where you can do fully on board with something like GitLab Enterprise or something like that. It can also do deployments to more than just Kubernetes. It can do App Engine. It can do VMs as well. So, you know, that's partly due to its heritage. It comes from Netflix. It comes from a time when Kubernetes couldn't do very much. And, you know, so it has that history of being able to do more than just the CD aspect of it. So it's one of my favorite quotes from Russ Miles. Yeah. All right. So we got this tool that can do all this wonderful stuff, but do you really need it? That's a decision for the business, right? I mean, everything that we just discussed, if you're using Helm, could be done very simply. If you only have 3 or 5 services like I do there, I could just do a kubectl apply and be done with it, right? So, you know, why wouldn't you use Spinnaker? Well, you know, it's heavyweight. It always takes a long time to get it up and working properly. You know, if there's an opportunity for someone doing side work there, I would say package it up, make it easier to deploy. And I think there might be something there, you know. The other reason why I don't particularly like it is that instead of just being a tool that's focused on CD, it does try to do other things as well. Like there are elements of doing the CI part, of doing the builds, of doing all this stuff, which there are better options for now. But given the way that it can do the red-black, it can do the canary, it's still a better option than trying to do that stuff manually. Right. Okay, so, well, we've already done that part. Something did go very wrong here. So just a few alternatives. I mean, we've already put up on the board a couple of others that are very good. You know, I know I personally still go, if the customer's got Jenkins, that's it. We're not going any further than that. We're just going to do pipelines. They're using VSTS. We've done that here where we have VSTS using kubectl into Google. Works fine. little bit of work, but it works fine. If you're looking for something new and exciting, Keel is getting some momentum, especially if you're looking to keep things very Kubernetes related. It can handle deployments. Spinnaker doesn't. Spinnaker still works at the replica set level. It can't do secrets. It can't do all that stuff. So if you're looking for a tool that can do more than that, you might want to look at Keel, but obviously it's still early access software. Brigade is a very interesting one. I was trying to get some of our product team here because we use Kubernetes in-house as well on Google and others. Brigade is actually from Microsoft. It's an Azure product, but it's open source. But that aims to fill in, to provide glue around Kubernetes. So it's more than just a CD tool, but it can definitely be used to do that. And that's what we're using in-house along with Helm.
So is Spinnaker more for like enterprise level stuff? Like if you're going to just like, for example, like maybe you have like me and two other friends who are working on this like expansive project, but not like enterprise level. Spinnaker would be something.
So it's a bit of overkill. I mean, you could do pretty much everything you want right there, and then these tools that you get for free. And the container builder doesn't just have to do Docker; it's got a little bit more. You can do, I call them very, very lightweight pipelines. You can do a build, then do something. You can script it or hook it into Cloud Functions with a pub sub trigger. That could all be done a lot easier than Spinnaker.
Like
Or if you're a small company, I mean, use Drone or CodeFresh or someone who's got a, I'm starting out plan and use their
one
tool.
thing that my friends and I are working on is a Slack bot that has three parts, where it has a web page where you can control it, the bot that actually like monitors the chat, and then the API. So it's like maybe if I want to have like those three services and then split that into services, something I think that would be classified as like a hobbyist level project, right? So then I should be preferable to use like Bitbucket or GitLab or something.
Right, something that's got enterprise. Because it's one of those tools that once it's up and running, it's great. And the fact that you can just throw more and more things, and you can take a pipeline that works for one project and turn it around very easily into something else, makes it great for enterprises. And but it is lacking some controls. That's I'll show you a couple of other things I don't like about it. This is fronted by an authentication piece. If I bump into an incognito and try to go to, it's going to ask me to log in. So you've got basic auth, and you can stop it from being open to everyone. But once you're in, there's no difference between me and anyone else. So it's not very enterprisey that way, in that you couldn't assign roles that allow you to do the database stuff and me to do the node stuff, for example. But it's all or nothing. It's kind of that level. That's what you get with open source. Some other things that maybe aren't the best is that, depending on your point of view about this stuff, I mean, because it hooks into Kubernetes at a low level, it allows you to manage things in Kubernetes that maybe a CD tool shouldn't. I know this is maybe a point of preference or religion, maybe, but I believe if you want to make a change to a cluster, you check that sucker in and you redeploy the YAML file or whatever it may be. You don't do it on the fly. That gets us back to the old way of doing things, where one environment doesn't match the other. So that's a negative for this. Something that maybe you do get with those enterprise tools. I haven't used them, so I'm assuming they've got a little bit more control over who can do what and what they can do, right? What level of integration. So having said that, I'm pretty much, that's the end of it. So let me go back to this, and obviously open it up for questions. I know we're going a little bit fast today, but open up for questions, but also give me some ideas about what we should be using in preference to this, because like I said, we're always looking to standardize on one tool for people who don't have something that exists already. So, why should I use GitLab or Bitbucket or anything else as opposed to this. And, you know, I'm personally very interested in hearing more about that if people want to share. I mean,
It's probably been about a year ago that I actually looked into this tool. I can never pronounce it. I always mix it up. So, and then I stumbled upon. I started using GitLab just on their free
Right.
plan, and I noticed that they started kind of pushing their product and really just building up their steam.
Yeah.
So, talked to a few of their guys, and they said like we're completely trying to do everything, like what Jenkins does, what
Right.
like all the tools that's out there. We just want to be the one tool for everything.
Mhm.
And I didn't believe them, but I told them I'll go ahead and try it out, and they've proven it so far. So for the free version, the nice thing is that anything that the enterprise version gets, they
Mhm.
give it away for free, like 6
Okay.
months later.
Oh, nice.
So all the enterprise stuff that they give it away. So now they're trying to do like Jira stuff now, as an example.
Huh.
And they're trying to integrate it into that. But the nice thing about GitLab is that it has a simple method of just doing everything. They give you examples of doing the CI stuff. So if you don't know how to write it,
Mhm.
when you're writing a Node application, you just select the example, and right off the
Right.
bat, they give you something to work with.
Okay.
So I don't know. I haven't used Bitbucket pipelines or even Jenkins pipelines, but I don't know if they provide that.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean,
Yeah.
anyone else chime in? Or?
Want to chime
Yeah.
I mean, I started using it once I started working with John and picked up fast, and it's lightweight, it's fast. I love it. Like,
And another thing too, it's really easy to install.
Yeah, it's got to be easier than this.
Yeah, it's a package. You can even build it from source if you want to, but
you just run a container and get it running to play with it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, I know some of those new tools, they look like are a lot easier than this. What about Bitbucket? I mean, what's the advantage?
So Bitbucket and like altogether Atlassian's products, they're very well integrated, right? Like Jira, Bitbucket, and then pipelines, and then they have GKE.
Mhm.
So you make cases in Jira, it will create a branch for your Bitbucket, then you have like pipelines which just does the CI for you, and it has all those enterprise features like access control and everything. So now what's good about their pipeline is that it's like so they run it on Kubernetes basically. So it's a YAML file, you say this is the image I want to use, run these commands, and then at the end push it to whatever repo that you want. They support Docker builds inside their pipelines.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a Docker in Docker.
Yeah.
They didn't have it in the beginning, but now they have it. So it's nice, but to me, CICD is more like it's not a one solution fits like fit them all. So like basically, it depends on your requirements, right? So if it's like a simple project, you can just use GitHub and Travis, for example, for free.
Right.
And so Bitbucket and like GitLab, they have those enterprise features, and it's like managed, right? You don't have to install everything, you don't have to maintain everything. It's all like managed for you. So that's a nice thing about it. But again, I think it pretty much depends on what are your requirements, what's the scale that you're working on.
Anyone using something that isn't like any drone or GoCD or anything like that? No, I guess not. All right. Well, you know, I feel a little bit silly, but that with the demo gods not smiling on me, that's about all I got right now. Let's just open it up. I mean, since we're all here, grab some more food. There's beer in the fridge. Don't, not too much. We're going to drive. Questions? I mean, I'm seeing, like I said, new faces. This is fantastic. What drew you here today? Was it the microservices part, or was it just you learned about it for the first time? You know,
Yeah, I want to learn about
yeah, I know. I've seen you, Kenny, a few times now. So,
So I heard the microservice. The kind of thing I've been struggling with for a while is when you start building large scale microservices,
Mhm.
and you have lots,
right.
and you're doing rapid iterations on those things, not simple fixes, but wholesale rewrites, whole new functionality type pieces.
Mhm.
Classic kind of CI kind of breaks apart, at least everywhere I've seen it. It's like, okay, if you check into the dev branch builds and deploys to another place. But really what I'm after is like a continuous integration that can work off of almost feature branches. But it's not feature branches for one project, it might be 6 projects.
Right.
We've built a Slack bot, we call Docker bot, that will enable us to basically deploy multiple swarms to multiple locations. It's kind of a pain, but I was wondering if anybody else is kind of working on how to do kind of side-by-side continuous integration for multiple services and what you people are doing around that type of problem.
That's definitely interesting. So, and like I said, do you do master branch builds or just feature builds or like that? I mean, how people
We do kind of all. So you got master. That is once you're ready to release. But for generally everything's checked feature branched until it passes some iteration of testing. Then it's merged into dev, and then continuous integrations run on it. But sometimes it's like you want to be able to run those integration tests well before that, because when you get too many of these kind of large scale changes from different groups, they step on top of each other. And so our CI pipeline is broken more than it works.
So is your pipeline serialized? Everything one build at a time, or are you parallelizing it?
Well, they build simultaneously. The problem is they if you get so I add an API to service one, and somebody else adds an API to service one. Well, I build mine gets deployed. They build theirs gets deployed, but theirs doesn't have mine. But I have the other microservice.
So it's more of a collaboration thing.
It's
That
a
you want to see if 4 of these changes belong to the same feature, all of them should go at the same time.
Yeah, so like I have service 1, 2, and 3, and all 3 of them require a change for my feature really to work.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's somebody else who's doing the same type of thing, and we continuously are stepping on it to the point that we have a wiki page that literally we check out the environment. You go to the wiki page and see if it's available for use.
Yeah.
And we did that for a while. We now have this next one, which is the chatbot. We have 11 environments that we can deploy to it.
Yeah,
But we do have what 45 microservices in like 15 teams working simultaneously on basically 5 different product lines with a kind of a common platform behind it. So there is a lot of people geographically spread out.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, anyone else experiencing issues like that? I mean, any suggestions on how we might address this?
Bitbucket has a feature that might help with that, and that's so they support services that you can start when you're running your CI. For example, for our API server, we need our database to be running, and we also have a Rabbit as a MQ thing, messaging queue. So when you can add services to your YAML file and say, okay, so this I want, for example, we're using Rethink, let's say, document-based database. So you run that, then you run Rabbit, and then you start the main API build. So during your build, you can, for example, read and write from your database. It doesn't really solve that problem that, for example, someone may go and change something in the database and break your CI, but at least it allows you to run a bunch of services alongside your main pipeline, and so you can communicate with them. That's a good feature that they recently added. But yeah, that's the pain. You know, I've been through it.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, we used to, for quiet period after every check-in, right, before
Yeah.
triggering the build, but I know that's the looked on skew right now.
Yeah. For a while, we could get away with, when it was like 8 or 9 services, you could get away with kind of deploying it to local Docker on your box, but now it's too big. Like this, we know, four CPU machines used with 16 gigs in a cluster to run the services now. So a little more than one, but then it's like, well, do you get the cost of running all that hardware versus the benefit, and it's back and forth.
Yeah.
The accountants keep yelling at us for spending too much money.
So what would be an approach to maybe address that? I mean, is there a want? Are we identifying a need in the market that hasn't been there? Or do you think it's more tooling and processes?
I don't know. The thought would be is to maybe understand a little bit more about the pipeline and really. And I was hoping when we started talking about Google Cloud and stuff like that, the ability to just spin the whole environment up,
Right.
And then somehow understand the interdependency between the different branches. So as some way to control that, so that you know, hey, I'm working on this, but that's this branch and this branch and this branch of these 3 different source repos. Those have to work together, and then if it understood that, it could then reuse as much hardware as possible, I would say. But where it was separate, it would spin up separate boxes. But then you got to figure out the networking.
Yeah, I mean, all that can be scripted. I mean, there's definitely tools for helping you to do that. But you said something that was interesting to me there. You'd start saying about different services needing maybe different API versions. I mean, that's the real issue right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things. We have like a central API service that accesses, but it accesses. We have about 12 different data sources behind it. Everything Mongo and Redis and all of these things. And then we actually have different services. So we have like maintenance services and tracking services and geofence services. All these things do different things, and it's like you add the geofence service, you're gonna have to add the new API call, and then you're gonna have a new schema change. And all those get affected, and if I deploy them, which we regularly do in staging, and then the next guy's breaks.
Right. So anyone else seeing challenges like that? I mean, microservices are a newish paradigm, right? We all got to.
Yeah, it's just coordination for when you have service dependencies like that.
So
Maybe you need like one
strategy?
You have like one person be the approver for that particular environment, and so that I mean the 3 different branches can be merged. You'll get a merge request, and then you can just approve it. It's all 3 of those to let it continue.
Right, but now you place in the bottleneck on your velocity, right? It's all down to that one person or one process.
Yeah, I mean, if it's breaking the environment,
oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, sometimes you got to slam on the brakes, but you know, it's not a.
And a lot of these, the other thing I've seen just a lot of as you go into microservices, unit tests don't quite cut it. It's really, and even integration tests a lot don't cut it. You really need system tests, and you almost need system tests for development. Because you think you can mock it until you really get the real result back in the database and realize what you mocked was completely wrong. I've done that more than count. Well, I wrote this unit test, it's great, and then it talks to the database, and I get a slightly different result set back, and it all blows up.
Yeah, with that. Any comments on that? Or?
No, I mean, we're in this kind of the same boat. We're building. Our data engineers are building like products every week, like just pieces of taking something that's old and bringing it in, making it smaller and faster. And we're trying to figure out how to, like, it's a single piece, and like there's 3 products that connect to it. We're like, okay, how are we going to be able to do this without, you know, spinning up all the stuff and breaking things, and So we're still trying to figure it out as well. There's no even I wish Brandon was there, but he one of our coworkers, he's trying to do stuff with Helm where it's like if this gets deployed, then these other things get deployed
Yeah,
with it.
all your YAML files together.
Right. One big chart.
Yeah.
Okay.
That it's being worked on now, so we're hoping that that's like the thing that solves it, because we need to deploy one little thing to test just that, instead of having to depend on one person, for example, like like the bottleneck.
Yeah.
And right now we are doing that. We have a team of approvers and people that kind of like the policers. But yeah, still the same battle.
It helps like being in Google and GCP to be able to spin up new environments quickly. Like, we use Terraform to like spin it up and get it all configured.
So that's be my next comment. I hear both of you saying, well, if only we could spin something up and do that. I'm like, can't we? What's the roadblock to doing that? Is it just investing the time and know-how?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's what it is. Yeah.
One thing that I think kind of helps is I've used it a little bit. Like Docker builds, you can have build arguments.
Yeah.
Yes.
So similar problem for our API that pulls a bunch of code from other repos. So we had the same problem, and we made it a build argument inside our pipeline. So your branch from other repos would be a build argument coming into your build pipeline. So let's say you want to know, that this feature branch you're working on, and similar feature branch on a bunch of other repos, you put that in there as a build argument. And when you're building your code, you know that you're pulling right feature branch from other repos, and you're building that instead of pulling the latest branch or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting, because our Docker bot kind of takes it that you're doing it much earlier in the process, which would be great.
Right.
Because we're doing it when we're actually doing the storm deployment. What we end up doing is we just tag them all with basically the feature branch is the tag of the Docker image,
Right.
and then later.
So we do it while we're building the images, and in your build, when you're pulling code and you're building the image, baking everything into it, you pull the right code from right feature branch and different.
So that's a very interesting idea.
So yeah, when you mentioned that, I just remembered that we had this problem a few months ago, and I think we fixed it that way.
Thanks. That's interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. But what do you do if you're not pulling the code together? You're just going to use independent services that maybe are versioned differently.
What do you mean?
So to me, that sounds like you're doing almost like submodules, right? You're putting down different parts to a single unit that's going to be compiled and maybe deployed as Docker. That's great if I'm doing it all at build time.
Right.
But what if I'm linking things at runtime and this needs version 1, this needs version 1.1?
I'm not saying it will fix all the problems, but I'm saying that really helps. So maybe you can use runtime argument as an environment variable, right?
We use like Artifactory for like common libraries and stuff like that, which helps the situation.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm thinking of another project where we have a similar problem, but at runtime, I'm thinking the build arguments used for selectors as well might come in handy.
So you either want to, I guess, use the right artifact or right code during build time, which will be build argument, or at runtime, which I assume would be environment variable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's food for thought. Thanks. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just send me a video. Yeah. I'm good for it.
I had one other thing that I've been kind of struggling with for a long time, which is dealing with SSL certs between microservices, especially fresh deployments, not just updates. how do you get an SSL image or a Docker image or a Kubernetes image? I'm actually doing Kubernetes images, but how do you get it where you get a workable SSL cert that'll work on a dev deploy, it'll work in stage deploy and production deploy? That's something I've been struggling with. I started playing with the Let's Encrypt agent. I haven't got to the point that I actually got that working yet. So
it's a few steps to do it, but yeah, that would be my first. I mean, anyone else doing that? I mean,
We use Let's Encrypt.
you just
It's
build
like a
that agent.
short-term search for I think 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's for free. So.
And they're good in the browser when you test them in the browser as well.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's definitely better than rolling your own.
Yeah.
Putting a PKI infrastructure in place.
All of ours are SSL cert between each other.
Yeah.
In dev, we've turned it off. And so therefore we're not really testing it properly. And they will even get to stage and it doesn't work.
Something else. Anyone using service meshes in Kubernetes yet? Like Istio or Linkerd, you guys?
Yeah, we just set up STO today.
Not in production yet.
Nope.
Right? No.
Okay.
I'm curious. I don't know anyone who's using it in production yet.
What are you trying to do with it? What's the goal? What's the requirement
For a mesh like
for
that?
using service mesh?
In my mind, it abstracts away the code necessary to put together something that's reliable, right? So I can use services and DNS, easy, piece of cake, right? The DNS can fail in many ways. It doesn't keep up usually with the pods dying or being created quickly enough sometimes. And especially if it's a transient type issue where the nodes are live, but maybe it's just not ready to accept data. So we used to have to code, circuit breakers and fallbacks and, those exponential cutoffs and everything like that. They're buggy and full of problems. If you've got basically a library which wraps your code and does that for you, you just say, give me the service.
Right.
And it figures everything out. I mean, that's the promise, right? If not the reality right now.
Right.
Yeah, I work for a monitoring company called Signal FX, and one of the things we're seeing is the service dependency maps and leveraging the service mesh so you can see what the relationships are between those services and if there's any issues between those services.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's not out yet, but that's where we're headed.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Is it in an alpha or is it still?
Yeah, we actually showed it at the reInvent this year, so it'll be out shortly.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
The company's called Signal FX. We do real-time monitoring across all the different clouds on Kubernetes. I was going to ask a question of what do you use for monitoring for infrastructure, service, and application monitoring after you do your deployments?
We use Dynatrace and Zabbix.
Because I know when I first came in, you were talking about blue-green deployments. Like Nike is a customer of ours, and one of the big things they do is blue-green deployments, big DevOps shop, so that they can test out the performance of the deployments and see when it's ready to actually turn over a full deployment.
Yeah. You need to make sure it's good before you deploy.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of load tests you guys run on it?
So we're massively scalable. Our founders actually created the monitoring system for Facebook. So we've got customers that are doing tens of millions of data points per minute. Very large and real time. So we do 1 second resolution every second. So I know you mentioned Dynatrace. They typically are in the minutes. And when we're looking at companies that are spinning up containers that tend to be fairly ephemeral, that 1 second visibility is key. Like the Nike use case is really interesting. I never knew this, but they do almost daily special shoe launches because they're trying to convert to a direct-to-consumer model. So they'll have massive scale on their servers and resources that only last for a few minutes. And so they need second visibility into where issues might go wrong, because they have a philosophy of no error launches, and that's kind of what's driving their movement.
And where were you 3 months ago when we were looking into Monica?
Happy to talk to you now.
Yeah. Talk to me in like 9 months when the contract's over.
We're using Dynatrace and Datadog and what's the other one?
So I'd love to talk to you about how your experience with Datadog.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What other monitoring solutions you guys use?
We use Microsoft. I don't know. I don't know.
And not really doing.
You realize operations manager.
Yeah.
Tool up front.
Being the certified Google Cloud provider here, do you ever like set up the monitoring that
The Stack Driver?
yeah?
Yeah,
What do you think of it?
I think it's a great tool.
Okay.
I do, you know,
Which one?
I know it's Stack Driver.
So
I like it more from a digging in point of view, like debugging.
Okay.
Because once you combine it with the source code and everything else, it's actually pretty cool at what it does.
Right.
I wish it was a little bit better priced,
Yeah.
you know, but I suspect that'll be addressed somewhere down the line. You know, it seems to be all these acquisitions, they come on board, it'll be integrated, and then price point will drop.
Did they
somewhat.
just start really charging for it, right? Like they changed something with logging.
Yeah, I mean, you still got the basic one, which is free, I think, 7 days or something like that. And you can always export the logs into a database or, you know, Splunk or whatever else you want to do with it. You know, not tied to it. But if you want to do everything within Stack Driver, yeah, there's a price to pay. But you know, there is for all these tools. You just got to find the right one for your particular nail, which hammers right.
Are most of you guys deployed on Google or AWS or mostly Google?
We're currently almost on exclusively on Amazon currently.
Which is very welcome.
What?
Welcome. Give you my card. Well, you're ready to go into a real cloud. So, cool. I like to say, we've still got a little time. There's plenty of food out there. Any other questions? I mean, you know, let's use this time wisely. Anyone with anything to bring up? Anything of interest? Anything you want to see in the future? Something that, you know, maybe I can get my colleagues here or my colleagues here, you know, within the organization, put demos together that might work. And we can actually talk about something interesting. You know, we're always looking for ideas. Like I said before, we're definitely looking for people who want to present. So if you're doing something cool, if you want to, it doesn't have to be in this space, but just anything you're doing you think is interesting, you know.
Yeah, for example, would you guys be interested in a demo around the monitoring? And not just on the infrastructure monitoring. I don't know what companies you guys are with, but another use case for us is like Verizon Digital Media Services. So they do all the streaming for NFL games, NBA games, Disney stuff and all that. And they're using our custom metrics to be able to track things like show me all the viewers per channel, or viewers per platform, or viewers per region, so they can start to identify things like where's potential piracy happening. But again, I don't know what industries you guys are in, but they put these custom metrics in there rather than having a big like Dynatrace APM agent. They'll just surgically insert into their code the fire metrics to us. And I don't know if you guys are doing any serverless. Anybody doing serverless? That's where the custom metrics come in as well. Is people will instrument their functions so they can get real good visibility into how well those functions are firing, what's the latency, are there cold starts, those things. So if you guys are interested, I'd be happy to work with you guys.
It'd be great. I'd like to see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do this every month. We're always looking for ideas, what we can talk about, what people actually use it. Because I see, when I go to customers, I see what I see. It's interesting to hear what other people who are using this are using it for. So what topics that come up, I'm not going to put anyone on the spot right now, but if you've got an idea, fire it off in the meetup, send me an email, whatever it is. But I mean, you up for doing something in April?
Yeah.
Okay. So got March covered for data flow. April, we're going to do monitoring the signal effects.
Signal effects, yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for topics for May. Give me some ideas.
Oh,
Volunteer.
That's a very long time from now.
Oh, it's not really.
Plenty of time to-
Oh dear, that's a young man speaking right there. That will be done.
We're talking in terms of like business cycle, not.
Just a question. So, does anybody use Google Deployment Manager for deploying repeatable environments, or any other tool that they use potentially?
We do use, I have to use Deployment Manager. When we go into a customer, we look at what they've got. If they don't have anything in place right now, we recommend
That's
Deployment
what
Manager.
we used to, but I was wondering what other tools maybe
Terraform is probably the classic.
popular.
Yeah. Cloud Foundry, things like that. There's a number of them out there, but use which one you know, or start off with Deployment Manager, just because it's so well integrated with everything in Google. And we were talking about that security stuff and networks, shared VPC. You can set up specialized projects that have enough permissions to create other projects as well. So you can.
That's
the cool part, is you can do almost
That's
everything.
what they pushing you to do. Have one project provision.
That's one of the reasons I like it. Yeah, because when we sell our solution, we're telling them everything it can do. So giving them the CSO something like that, it makes them feel better about the infrastructure as code part.
We use Terraform because we have to be multi-cloud. So
Yeah, that's a good thing about that. Yeah.
Only recently though that they really are supporting GCP. Before it was kind of really difficult to find information on that.
it's all AWS.
Yeah, just a bunch of AWS stuff and
Yeah, I get why, but it's a different world this year than last year, right?
Yeah.
So things are changing.
oh yeah, we're happy about it.
And you get GCP swag, it's like stickers.
Oh, I do have
need
some.
some
Yeah,
stickers.
I may have a couple. This is the man to know. Okay.
All right.
Okay, but if the swag helps, I do have a few more of these stickers. I'll tell you what, anyone presents, they get stickers or a little battery pack or anything else I can get off my friend here.
Accelerate, they got the cushiony ones.
I've been trying to get one of those for so long.
I got one.
So I take it you're with Google?
I just joined, yeah. I have no idea what anybody said here all day. I worked for Apogee, so the API management. I was 12 years with IBM selling business software. And now I'm in the world of you guys.
So do you work out of the Irvine office?
Yes, I do.
I love that office. It's really
It's
nice.
awesome. So we just moved, the whole cloud group just moved right next door.
Oh really?
Yeah, we took over the 4th floor and they really did it up sweet. I mean, it's all the cloud guys, they were all around engineers. They liked you, they looked at your feet. It's great.
That's awesome.
So,
Very cool.
been a great experience. I don't get into piece together all boards yet. The API management is interesting.
That's one thing like we wanted to get into too. And, our team's trying to build. You guys ever heard of Kong? Kong Gateway?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we instead of using them, we just kind of reverse engineering what they're building. So like rate limiters and authentication all through the API instead of having the application do it. It's like a something in the front.
We use Tyke.
Yeah. And we looked into Tyke, but then there was something about it. I don't know. Our CTO didn't really like it for some odd reason.
We like it because we can control what customer goes to what API. fairly easily from it, and they had some pretty good monitoring built into it for kind of doing business and billing.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe. Oh, it's because they were Asian centric. So like, they're more of like the Asia market. Just the way that the guy presented it. Yeah, it's a company in Singapore, I think. No, Tyke, right?
Like, they're officially out of London, but I think all the development is offshore.
Yeah, so I think it's because we felt that there was more, they were not really interested in talking to us. And Kong, I had a friend that works at Kong, so.
That always helps.
Yeah. And it's like you can get it up and running within 5 minutes, but we wanted to build our own. So it's like making a management tool for our own API. So I'm glad I'm not on the team. Because data engineering is doing it, so we move it to that.
If there's no other question, I mean, like I said, food, beer, help yourself. I'll close it down now, but no one's not forcing you out. Thanks for coming. Thanks for participating and giving us some ideas on where we can go next and things that are of interest. I said, definitely, if you want to present, let me know. I'd love to have different people doing this than just me. Love to have working demos. I can't say that enough. It doesn't have to be, something you're working on that maybe you don't want to share. It's just, experiences and skills that with tools that maybe we haven't used before. That's what I'm looking personally to get out of this. So just hit me up, let me know. I'm open to anyone presenting who wants to. All right. Great. Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll put source code and notes and all of this up on the site, or links to it anyway, shortly.
We're a telecommunications company. The White House.